RADMSelby commands, well, I'll start at the beginning. He was commissioned in 1986 through the ROTC program at the University of Virginia, UVA, head of NSWC. He's responsible for over 16,000 scientists, engineers, technicians, and support personnel in 7 NSWC divisions that perform research, development, test, and evaluation for the future Navy, as well as provide all the in-service engineering and support for the Navy that's in place today. A career submariner, he served in attack submarines Puffer, Pogey, and Connecticut. He commanded USS Greenville, SSN 772. In these boats, he conducted multiple deployments to the Western Pacific, Northern Atlantic, and the Arctic. He previously served in the following acquisition billets: Principal Assistant Program Manager for Advanced Undersea Program Office, PMS 394, and Program Management for both the Submarine Imaging and Electronics and Electronic Warfare Office, PMS 435, and the Advanced Undersea Programs Office, again, as the leader, PMS 394. Let's welcome Rear Admiral Selby. What is NAVSEA doing to align to Navy and Marine Corps needs? What's different?
That's great. So if you haven't read the Design for Maintaining Maritime Superiority, you got to go get it. It's a great read. It's a quick read, but it really lays out what the CNO and the rest of us are thinking about the future for the Navy. The key is we have to figure out how to capture the ideas that are floating around in the Ethernet and start bringing those ideas together. When I think of innovation, I think of 3 types of innovation. The first type is kind of the aha moment. It's like, it's like the flux capacitor. You hit your head on the sink and you come up with that just ingenious invention that no one else thought of. That happens. It's pretty rare, quite frankly. The next type is what I call transportable or translatable innovations. This is kind of like you see something in one part of your life or you see something in one part of the world, you go back home and you realize, hey, that could work in my kitchen or that could work on my submarine. And you bring that idea and you may have to tweak it and mod it a little bit, but you transport that to another application. The third type of innovation, and this is the most, I think, most abundant, the one that's really out there, is combinatorial innovations. Taking multiple ideas, bringing them together into a new innovation. We got to capture those ideas, bring them together, new inventions, and rule the day. And we got to change the rule book for acquisition, the way we do business. This is everything from the way Congress allocates money to the way contracts are let, the way programs are run. We got to change the rule book. We're in the wrong rule book. It's like we're in the digital era. We're using an analog rule set. Got to change it.
Rightfully, there's a big emphasis on in the speeches and the pronouncements about partnering with industry. So the right things are said, but one of the things you hear is, well, we went out, we drank the Kool-Aid, and we went out and developed something. And then we brought it to the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Coast Guard, and at first they were excited about it, and then they gave it to the lawyers and said, oh, this is an unsolicited proposal. So you drank the Kool-Aid, you did the innovation, you're trying to do the partnership thing, and you want to bring this item to the military and test it, maybe have them use it in a fleet experiment, and the answer is, sorry, we didn't buy that, so we can't go near it. So that might be a little harsh, but could each of you, and I don't care which order you take, talk about that a little bit, and then we're going to throw, after we hear from you all, we're going to throw it open to the audience.
Sure, I'll start. It goes back to the risk-averse culture that we've built up, and we got to get our folks to think more broadly. We were talking about this before the panel started, where we've incentivized some of our industry partners to develop things under IRAD, and then they bring them to us and say, hey, we've got a solution. We go, that's great. We're going to compete it. You know, what did we just do to industry's incentive? So I hear what you're saying. I empathize with you, and until you see us changing, you should keep asking us and keep beating us over the head with that. It fundamentally comes back to sitting down with our folks almost on a one basis and going, no, you can do that. It's okay. you don't have to accept no for an answer from the lawyer or the contracting officer. If you think it's the right thing to do, you need to elevate it up your food chain and let your program executive officer or let your systems commander, let somebody else make that decision. Don't accept no at the lowest level. And if it's something that you all have developed under IRAD and it was done, quite honestly, because we encouraged you to do that, and you're getting pushback on it, then you need to elevate it inside the government chain, because again, our program managers, I think, feel constrained. They're risk averse right now, and we've got to get them out of that mindset.
We up here on this panel, we need to help you, to help us, to help you, and a lot of this is unknown territory. It really is. It's new rule sets that have to be developed, and it may require new authorities. It most certainly will. But we have to have the conversation, because it's absolutely wrong for us to encourage you to do something like that and then come to the door and say, "Yep, sorry, not today." We got to figure this out.
So the question that Admiral Selby proposed earlier was, why are we losing our margin of military dominance and why Google is not? So we've gotten to interact with them and see why are they doing so well. And it comes back to the end users. They're incorporating their end users into the problem, like into the bringing up the problems and being part of the solutions. And there's different avenues out there that are cropping up, like the Athena project, the Hatch, DIUX, and Human Systems Integration Department at NPS, RoboDojo, the makerspaces. But yet there seems to be a disconnect still between the strategic level and the tactical level of getting these things together to where they're actually working great.
Right. So let me take that real quick. So I have found that the more closely tied the engineer at NAVSEA, I'm sure it's the same for NAVAIR or SPAWAR, is to the fleet, the better the end product will be. Okay, so let me give you an example. So in Crane, Indiana, we stood up a lab. We call it the RIPPLE, Rapid Innovation Prototyping Lab. Okay, and this center got a project about 6 months ago from Warcom. Brian Losey here in San Diego had a concern. He wanted to have his SEALs be able to communicate with their flat, their basically iPad. It's not an iPad, it's some other screen, Surface or whatever it was, with the beach while they were underwater. So they approached my Crane Warfare Center, the RIPPLE. They sent a couple SEALs to Indiana, and they spent 3 or 4 days talking to about 12 of my engineers there and described the problem, talked about the challenges they had, talked about the ways they navigate underwater now, basically with kick counts, 50 kicks this way, 50 kicks that, whatever. I mean, that's the way they do it. And so they described the problem. They went back to San Diego. This very diverse group of engineers, and again, these were pulled from all corners of my warfare center. They didn't know each other necessarily. It was just a bunch of 12 folks that we pulled in that wanted to think different about problem sets to solve problems. They then spent a week prototyping ideas, actually building cardboard mock-ups of what they thought this thing should look like. They then actually built a plexiglass model that was waterproof enough to take to a swimming pool to test. They took it to San Diego, let the SEALs swim around in the swimming pool with it for an afternoon, got more feedback of what they liked and didn't like, designed the toe point for the antenna differently. I mean, they changed a few things, went back to Crane, mocked the thing up, actually built one, sent it back to the SEALs, and they now have, I don't know how many they got. They got a bunch now. They love it. But it was that human connection between those engineers and those warfighters that really drove this innovative engine and got everybody inspired to put out this product. And we did it in under 5 weeks total. Insane.
So here's my question. I think that makes a lot of sense, for special operators at that level. It's very tactical. For G8 or maybe Dave or Bruce, the colonel, does that scale well? Because the premise of the question is that they're successful because they're in contact with their customer and they have a rapid process, putting the right people together early enough, and then they literally deliver. So how do we scale this up, to more complex systems?
I think we can scale it into our mods and upgrades fairly easily. Digital interoperability, which has been a big focus in Marine Corps aviation over the past couple of years, we've done kind of the same thing, taken the